Can you use Elasticsearch in a SOC? Yes, you can use Elasticsearch in a SOC. But before we talk about how to do it, let's first compare Elasticsearch with already popular SIEM solutions you already know, such as Splunk and QRadar. Well, basically, as you know, Splunk and QRadar are well known and used in SOC. Problem is, these traditional SIEMs charge enterprises, companies, and whoever use them by what we call the daily ingestion volume. I mean, gigabytes per day. For example, if you ingest a lot of gigabytes per day logs into your SIEM, Splunk, or QRadar, you will be charged a lot of money. So this method discourages ingesting a lot of logs like high volume and low quality logs. I mean, I'm never talking about SOC, such as maybe DNS logs or firewall logs that allow or permit logs, let me call them. These are high volume but low value when it comes to SOC. So if you follow this strategy, when using Splunk or QRadar, you will be disappointed at how much you will be charged. However, in the case of Elasticsearch, they charge you basically, the licensing could be either flat fee or it could be based on your resource usage. I mean, the nodes at process and to use for processing and searching the logs. Previously, Elasticsearch was being used only as a log aggregator. You would ingest logs to Elasticsearch and then you would search the logs, manual search. That's how it was before. Now they introduced Elastic Security, XDR. These things allow you to use Elasticsearch as a full stack SIEM solution. In this video, I'm going to tell you guys real quick how it works and how to use it using a real practical scenario, how to ingest the logs. That's basically contained in the documentation. However, we're going to tell you guys how you can use Elasticsearch to search the logs, extract insights using a real case scenario. Really quick how Elasticsearch works. So Elasticsearch is called stack for a reason because it contains three components. First component is the agents. These agents can be used to ingest data. Other component is the processing or what's called the Elasticsearch cluster. Okay. Elasticsearch is responsible for, as you can see, storage, indexing, parsing, and analyzing data. And lastly, Kibana, the last component in the Elasticsearch it's a web interface basically, used to search the logs, create visualizations, dashboards, and reports. All right, so these are the three components of Elasticsearch. How it works, you have log sources. It could be application logs, it could be your syslogs, okay? It could be network logs. Any type of logs can be ingested into Elasticsearch, okay? How you ingest the logs, you basically have to install what is called as the beats. For example, FileBeat and MetricBeat. You can install them at the server holding the logs. FileBeat or the beat will basically ship, that's why they're called shippers. They ship the logs from the log source or the machine that contains the logs into Elasticsearch for indexing, processing, and searching. Instead, basically, if you don't want to use beats, you can use Logstash. However, the process using Logstash is far way more complex than the beats. I prefer using the beats. So just install the agent will do the work. Once the logs are shipped to Elasticsearch, here you can create what is called as the index. The index is very important to hold the data that you have shipped from the log source. Once the data are indexed and stored, then you can log into Kibana. Okay, once you deploy the full Elasticsearch, it will give you the IP address. You can just use it in the browser, log into Kibana, select the index that holds the logs, and you can then start the search. Before we start the investigation, it's worth mentioning that you can resort to the documentation to learn how to ingest data to your Elasticsearch. Okay, this is not the part of the scope of this video, so we're going to start the investigation right away. Once the logs are ingested and once the index is created, now it's time to start your investigation. So when you want to investigate or when you want to search logs and extract insights using Elasticsearch, there are two methods. The first method is using the KQL, which is the search query that's used to extract insights from the logs. As you can see, the search query here uses the fields that are already visible on the left. You can use the fields on the left as well to extract insights. So you have the fields on the left and you have the KQL. Now remember that the fields here are not fixed, okay? They don't appear the same every time you ingest the logs. Depending on the type of the logs that you have ingested, the fields here will vary. For me here, I ingested GeoServer logs, okay? And GeoServer logs, the fields in GeoServer logs appeared on the left based on the parsing mechanisms used in Elasticsearch, okay? All right. Another important aspect you want to take into consideration is the date. You want to set the right date and time for your search, okay? And basically for me, I selected 1 January. You can also select different types of searching the date and time using relative or using the now. Now is setting, set start date and time to the current moment, okay? For us, usually we deal with absolute. For example, we set the start date here, and it will basically search the date you selected up until the current moment. You see here, 7 January 2026, up until now. Okay. So setting the date and time and crafting your search query are essentials to start extracting the insights. Another important thing is the columns here. You see we have the columns. These columns do not appear randomly. They are based on your selection of the fields. So depending on the fields you select on the left, the columns here will differ. For example, if I remove all of these, okay, now everything has fallen back to the default view. That's the default view you get when you ingest the logs. You get the timestamp and you get the summary. The summary here is the raw format of the log or the log entry, okay, that is found in the log file. So how do we know what kind of logs we have ingested? We can look at the log type. This is the log type field. Once we click on this, okay, we can see all the logs that have been ingested into Elasticsearch, okay. And if you remember, I told you guys we can use the KQL here as well. So if you don't want to use the fields, you can craft your KQL query. However, if you are just getting started, you might find it overwhelming to learn how to use the KQL and its syntax. It's not hard. However, you may find overwhelming if you are just getting started. So you can search using the fields here. So if you click on, maybe you are interested in searching the GeoServer app, we can click on plus. And now the fields are narrowed down to show only the logs that came from the GeoServer app logs, okay? And we can see the filter, log type dot keyword GeoServer app, okay? By the way, if we remove this and look a little bit more closer at the KQL language. So KQL language, they are basically basics that you have to learn before you get started. And then you can basically learn how to search with KQL. So before you start searching, it's important to know that there are reserved characters in LK that you can't use in the search. And basically, the search in KQL can be done using free text search. You can just use one keyword here to search for your data. For example, I can search for etc password. And there is no match for my query. I can search for password, let's say, no match. That's fine. Let's pick something from the logs that already exist. You can expand the log entry here by clicking on the toggle here. So toggle dialog with details. And here you can see the details of the document. These are the details of this exact log entry at January 10, 2026. Okay. So now if I maybe look at one keyword, I can use the search. Okay. Log file path. That's the message. This is basically the request body. Okay. As you can see, it's a GET request sent to GeoServer WFS, and that's the request parameters. We can maybe search with this. Just type GeoServer. So with free text search, you will be able to pull all the logs that contain the keyword GeoServer. That's one way of using the KQL to search for logs. You can also use the wildcard. The wildcard, KQL allows the wildcard to match parts of the term or word. Okay, for example, if search with United here, we've used the wildcard with the term United to return all the results containing the term United and any other term that comes after United, depending on the position of the keyword, the wildcard. If I put the wildcard after GeoServer, it will search the logs for all entries that contain GeoServer or anything that comes after GeoServer. If I update this, as you can see, we examine one log entry here. So these are matches, okay? This one is GeoServer XXE. You see, XXE came after GeoServer, and that matches the way I search or the way I use wildcard. If I used wildcard before GeoServer, these wouldn't have been returned in my search. If I try wildcard before, okay, and update, have a look at one. So the matches here include only these. You see, it includes GeoServer because it's still the original keyword and anything that may come after GeoServer. That's one way of also to use free text search with wildcard. And basically you can use the logical operators and or not to narrow down the search using a logical operation. So maybe we can do something like geo server, and I can see nothing. All right. So the thing about KQL, we can stay talking about it for hours and hours, and we basically cannot cover it. So your best bet is to resort to the documentation of Elasticsearch to learn more about KQL if you want to master it. Let's now get back to the logs. So update. All right. So now remember we talked about the default view when we first ingest the logs. So we have the summary, timestamp, and basically these are here the functionality buttons you can use to maybe enter full screen. And this one is to use display options if you want to maybe. All right. Another important aspect of using Elasticsearch to investigate is the timestamp. You may want to decide what is your timestamp search strategy. You may want to search using a descending or an ascending order. So for me, I usually do an ascending order, meaning from old to new. If you want to search using a descending order, meaning from new to old, you can just click on this. And now the order is reversed to show the most recent queries, if I am not correct, starting from January January 10. Okay. So now we start with 11/24 and we go backwards in time. Again, for me, I want to go back to old to new. That's how my mind works. Makes me uncomfortable to search from newest to oldest. I like from oldest to newest because we want to see the full attack chain and how it started. So now it's time to take a full practical scenario. And the practical scenario I picked for you in this video, guys, it is the TryHackMe Geo server. I'm not going to go over the full room. You can find the full write-up in my blog. You can check it out in the description of this video. However, you can use this room, guys, to practice using Elasticstack to detect such kind of vulnerabilities. In task 4, there is a full walkthrough here on how to use Elasticstack to detect this kind of vulnerabilities, which is basically Geo server. And that's the material or the practical lab material I'm used for this video, just mentioning it for the credits of the owners. All right, so getting back to the lab here. So our aim is to detect Geo server. All right, so I'm not going to talk about what is GeoServer CVE because you can still get back to the room or read the write-up in my blog on how this vulnerability basically works. Now we're going to start the investigation right away because this is the video. This video is all about how to use Elasticstack to investigate this kind of vulnerabilities. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is to get rid of this default view. I don't like it. So we're going to want to add fields here or columns. Okay, so we want to select what kind of column we want. Since GeoServer CVE is a vulnerability that basically deals damage on web applications, we're going to need to add fields here or columns that are pertinent to fields. Fields, pertinent, kind of confused now. So we can add the fields here that are pertinent to application requests and responses. We can add here log type. You can click on add field as a column and it will be added to the view here. So log type. So you can see it is Tomcat access. We can add also the source IP address. Now you can see the source IP address. This is the IP address or the machine that is sending the request to the Geo server. You can add also the request method, whether it is post or get. You can add the URL path that was requested. And we can add here the file output. Basically, this contains the request or response bodies. What was basically the payload of the full request. And that's basically fine for now for the investigation. The next thing I want to do is to get rid of the fluff, which is defining the log type. Since we ingested a lot of logs here, we want to focus on GeoServer app logs. And now we can see only 2 log entries. So again, remember, I like to take a look at the chain of events starting from the oldest event or from the very start. So that's the first event. We're going to expand this and have a look at what happened. So what to focus on for the investigation for this one. So here it's very important to note a couple important fields here, such as the file output. The file output here holds the response sent from GeoServer to the user who requested or who sent the request. You see the response is in XML. And since here we're talking about GeoServer vulnerability that includes the attacker sending malicious XXE payloads, okay, the attacker here would send a payload or would send maybe a request to reveal the contents or the username and password stored in the data store file in GeoServer. Data store file in GeoServer is used to store the username and password for the administration panel. Now let's get back to this. That basically decodes what happened. The attacker sent a request to the user server to reveal the contents of the data store, and user server returned the username and password, or the contents of the file itself. The contents of the file is the username, admin, and the password try.me. These are used to log in to the administration panel. So basically, that's the response sent from user server, and that's how you know that the server responded and processed the malicious XML input sent by the attacker. Now, the next one is the flag, contains the flag. However, the flag is not of interest to me here, but you can, during investigation, you might focus on the message field, on fields that include basically the actual response data or the request data sent between the attacker and the server. Since we're investigating geo server here, we're looking basically at the request and response metadata and the payloads. Quick, before we finish, you might be asking about those fields here. Do they differ every time you ingest a different type of log depending on the log source? Well, the answer is no, it won't differ, because Elastic uses Elastic Common Schema. This solved the problem of changing field names here. If you always ingest different log type and the field names change, okay, you're gonna have problems searching and creating detection rules. So here, Elastic Common Schema solves this by enforcing strict field naming convention across all data sources. So it doesn't matter basically where the data comes from. It could be coming from AWS, CloudTrail, Cisco Firewall, Linux server, whatever. The source IP here, it will always be mapped to source.ip, and URL path, it will always be mapped to url.map. This is non-negotiable for SOC analysts because it allows you to write one detection rule automatically applies to entire state cloud, on-premises, or even SaaS applications. You can also check out my playlist, Elasticstack training tutorials and courses. I will also put the link in the description. You can find here a lot of videos on how to use Elasticstack to detect and investigate cyber attacks, including ransomware and APT attacks.